Okay, so the case that our group decided to do this project on was Pope versus Motel 6. Juanita Pope was hired on April 5th, 1996 with Motel 6, and soon after was promoted to head housekeeper. As time went on, she began to have some issues with her company and was written up a few times, suspended for unsatisfactory job performance and tardiness. She was even confronted at one point by her boss, Victoria Inman, about gossiping, yet she continued to say bad things about her boss and her company. She was then terminated soon after. Inman had also accused Pope and her husband of stealing from their company, which Pope said was a false accusation. And after taking it to court, Pope brought multiple claims of wrongful termination, race, and defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress. And the district court granted summary judgment to Motel 6 on all cases, on all causes, and Pope disagreed with the verdict, so she appealed to a higher court.
Today, minorities represent 36% of the workforce. 70% of maids and housekeepers are made up of minorities, basically showing that they're still in lower wage jobs. Civil Rights Act of 1991 was set in place to strengthen civil rights laws and help fix compensatory damages in cases of intentional employee discrimination. Defamation is based around the idea that action can be brought to the court system if a published statement would make any reasonable person think worse of their character. Putting someone's character into question can lead to lost opportunities or even sometimes demotions. Long-term effects that defamation can cause are unfortunate and can unfairly take away opportunities. Next slide, please. The legal issues involved in the dispute. Pope states that she was terminated because her husband kept pursuing a case against Motel 6. The district court never went to trial, and court granted summary judgment in favor of Motel 6 on all causes of action. Pope started an appeal process and worked her way up to the Nevada Supreme Court. Main legal issue is racial discrimination in the workplace. NRR 613.330 is the law for Nevada's anti-discriminatory statute. Next slide, please. It states, unlawful employment practice to discharge any individual because of his or her race, color, sex, religion, sexual orientation, age, disability, or national origin. NRS 613.420 requires employees to exhaust administrative remedies by filing a complaint with the NERC before filing a district court action.
Third-party retaliation claim. Pope's next claim is a third-party retaliation claim, and this has to do with the way she was fired. Pope believes she was fired because her husband's Robert's actions and not her actions. Robert would be the third party in this case. Pope believed she was fired because her husband was pursuing a sexual harassment case against Motel 6 where he was the victim. The court later found that the problem with this was Pope was actually not participating in this case against the company like she said she was. She would be protected if she was participating, but she was not. So the Supreme Court upheld the district court's original summary judgment. This is the NRS statute that just explains that you are protected from your employer if you participate in an investigation. Later, she added racial discrimination claims to her district court claim. And the reason why you cannot do this is if you add claims later in your court process, it has to be related to your original claim. And in this case, racial discrimination is not related to third-party retaliation. And so the Supreme Court also upheld the district court's first summary judgment in favor of Motel 6.
Lastly, Pope made a defamation claim against Inman. Pope claimed that Inman had accused her of stealing from Motel 6 and writing threatening letters. Next slide, please. The courts ruled this claim off two types of privilege, the first being qualified privilege and the second absolute privilege. Pope could not prove that defamation based off of these two privileges, so the court granted summary judgment to Motel 6. Next page, please. To conclude, Pope versus Motel 6 ended up going to the Supreme Court of Nevada after she appealed the lower courts. The Supreme Court ruled that Pope should not have filed for discrimination claim without exhausting all her administrative options. In addition, the retaliation claim made in this case is protected because of third-party involvement. This case also demonstrates the difference between qualified privilege versus absolute privilege before the initiation of criminal proceedings.